Discuss the role of Vice President of India as the chairman of Rajya Sabha. Pointers straight away. This is very specific. If I say what you need to know Article 64 first of all. Okay. Without it, it will not start. You can say, if you want to say Article 63 also, that what provides for the position of, and then when you talk he is functioning in Rajya Sabha, then Article 64 is the one which talks of, so Article 63 talks of that there shall be whom? A Vice President, and then Article 64 straight away talks about that he shall be the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha, right. After it, then how do I go ahead with pointers? Then if I suggest you that if you would have gone through the site of Rajya Sabha and role of Vice President there, the chairman there, then the answering would have been very easy. Why these questions are asked? Why not the functions of president has been asked? Because they also know president, governor, everyone will be studying. In every coaching it will be taught. Now, the role of vice president, it is not that okay, what will be the functions of vice president so that you also can take the help of Article 65? No. Article 65 simply talks about that when president is not there, okay, for any of the reason, then vice president shall be functioning as the president. So, we are not talking about that at all. We are not talking about that. What we are talking about is, we are talking about Vice President only as the chairman of Rajya Sabha. So, what are his functions? In what regard? So, one point you will immediately say, sir, let me show you, presiding officer. You will immediately say, there is the chairman of Rajya Sabha, the vice president presides over the meetings of the house. Okay? Then, guardian of the prestige and dignity of the house. It is his responsibility. Then, principal spokesman of the house and represents the collective voice to the outside world. Ensure that the proceedings of the house are conducted in accordance with the relevant constitutional provisions, rules, practices, conventions, and that decorum is maintained in the house. Custodian and guardian of the rights and privileges of the house and its members. He presides the question hour. Ensure that members' rights of asking questions and receiving complete replies is well enforced and gives ruling on privilege matters and other procedural points. Vote in case only of fatai, that is Article 100, and the chairman's ruling constitute precedents which are of a binding nature. One point has not been included here, which I forgot. You can also say his say is final in cases of disqualifications related to Schedule 10. Okay? In case of Lok Sabha, it will be speaker, and in case of Rajya Sabha, it will be whom? The vice president. So, can you see the specificity in language? You cannot start the answer if you are not aware. It is looking very easy question, but to score 6, 7, and this is a question where you can score 6 marks, 7 marks easily. UPSC is not that we say we do not get even 40% marks, 45% will be a topper. The question is to write in the examination in a very objective manner on the questions which have been asked actually is a difficult task and requires lot of practice. You need to have information and also you need to have an orientation of answering questions in that nature and order. That is also important. It is not easy. See, this point easy, anyone could have recalled. Let me just put out how things would have gone in this case. If I see, so story would have started with Article 63 provides for the office of Vice President, then Article 64 provides for him as the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha, and then What are his functions? Straight away you need to come to that, as the chairman of Rajya Sabha, he is required to preside over the meetings of the house. Okay? Anybody could have answered it, not a difficult thing, you could have answered it. Then guardian of the prestige and dignity of the house, this requires that you have some good understanding of, see children, most of these as it is, apart from this 63, 64 and first point, can be written for a speaker as well if they ask you functions of a speaker next time. Okay? This is how UPSC is asking. So, guardians of prestige and dignity of the house, this is requiring some understanding, it is not difficult one, it is very easy. Any presiding officer is actually responsible for the prestige and dignity of the house. If things are not managed well, then ultimately the bad name is earned by the presiding officer. So, simple question, we have taken this statement. Then principal spokesman of the house and represents the collective voice to the outside world. Okay? Then ensures that the proceedings of the house are conducted in accordance with the relevant, this is also easy one. If you ask me, first one was easy, most of them would have written, this also would have been written by most of them, but these two, few of them. Preside the questionnaire can be written separately, it is expected he should always be there. Then custodian and guardian of rights and privileges, this is also a one, the point which requires some practice and some understanding that how do you frame answers. Okay? Preside the questionnaire, again I will say easy, ensure that members' rights of asking questions and receiving complete replies is well enforced and gives ruling on privilege matters and other procedural points. This also requires that you should have objectively covered it. Vote in case of a tie, everybody would have written, that is not an issue. Chairman's rulings constitute precedents which are of a binding nature. This also requires again some technical understanding or somebody who has prepared it properly, otherwise cannot be written. All this will be valid in case of speaker also, because these are for presiding officers, and then you could have also written another point, one more point, his decision making in what case? In the case of disqualification, schedule 10. Okay, that is what you will be talking. Fine friends. So, if I say that how these answers are to be written, how do you really frame the answers to these questions, then ultimately you will come out with an understanding and one appreciation that will all of you with me will have it. It requires notes preparation, it requires objective information written down in our notes which we will be revising for the examination. Definitely it is not something that you can talk about, I know about vice president I can write, yes you may write 2-3 points, but 5-6 points, see it is a competition. Till the time you are not better than others, who is saying you are bad, you are very good, but if you are very good and many are very good, then very good will be selected. That is the only thing. Many of us know things, sometimes we are worried about that should I write in bigger font, smaller font, forget all that. The writing should be readable, it should be legible, someone can just see it, okay, readable, there is no problem in it. Yes, UPSC has clearly written that if your writing is such that examiner is really having problem, then they may give you some negative marks, but generally they have not been provided. So, of course, anyone will say you should write what someone can read. Focus more on content, presentation. As we have seen today in this brief talk, some questions that how UPSC 2022 has asked and what should have been answers to them. I have tried to give you some basic background knowledge also about them, that how the answers should have been provided for. Okay, I have attempted to give some background information also to you, so that you understand. Okay, because see, when you are writing, there is no hard and fast rule that you open with this sentence only, but idea of orientation, the flow of your discussion definitely requires some very strict boundary line. It should not be just flowing here and there. It need to be in a specific channel. Okay. So, most of the time it should be in the form of canal, though even if it is a river, there is no problem. It can have its course and it will vary from student to student, there is no harm in it. Okay. So, in the light of discussions which we had today, if I just before when we are finishing off, we started from it. So, discuss the essential conditions for, so if you remember article 213 that you should have written here. Okay. So, and then these cases. Okay. So, talk about the essential conditions when the house is not, that is 213 specifically, if I say that is you were expected. If you want to talk about the president powers, just you can say, because in these cases Krishan Kumar Singh cases, and it has also been said that similarly the president should not be doing it. Though if you remember, in regard to enemies property case, okay, repromulgation of an ordinance has been 4 times. In regard to negotiable instruments case, repromulgation by the centre, okay, not parliament, by the centre has been 2 times. But otherwise it is an established principle that repromulgation without laying in front of the legislature shall not be there. So, a more legal discussion, but with where you can talk of Henry VIII clause, lot of things, because 250 words you have to show why it is illegal, because the question is legality. So, it requires discussion, that is why 250 words. Something that will require discussion will be asked generally in 15 marks. Okay. So, this one we have seen specific points, the specific information, no discussion, nothing is required here. This is the question which is expecting out of you that you really know is specific information for very easy things, like suppose I ask you what are the functions of prime minister, what are the functions of chief minister, then you should not be just writing here and there and seeing and write a generalized one, but try to write from rules of business, because you keep hearing these terms and you are going for UPSC, it is you are expected to know them. To what extent, in your opinion, has the decentralization of power in India has changed the governance landscape at grassroots? Some basic information and then a sort of descriptive writing by you. Okay. Here you have not to talk here and both sides, rather you need to talk about that yes, initially it was not very successful, but after 73rd, 74th amendment and as we have moved, things have improved and lot of things have now improved. Okay. That is where you would have given in regard to them. Anyway, right of movement and residence requiring specific information about the articles, nothing else in it was required, and a basic discussion that nothing absolute. If it is not absolute, it does not mean that a state is really going for many laws which is restricting. No, it is only in very special cases where it is happening, and that too to protect the rights of others. Then this is the first question which we talked about, was the most significant achievement of modern law in India is the constitutionalization of environment problems by the Supreme Court. So, a line on the significance of environment would have been handy if you would have talked about it, then immediately go for what constitution is providing, 21, 48A, 51A, article 253, and then go for writing about Stockholm will also be very useful. This one, sorry, Stockholm Conference, because on the basis of this only we actually created our act in 1986. Then talk about the cases, because the question has specifically demanded, and should I write 2, should I write 4, I think minimum 3 or 4 should be there. Okay? There will be many cases if you want, but these are which I have taken are the very popular ones which have been taken. Fine friends, so with this I will be taking your leave today with just one advice: keep preparing, make your preparation objective. Do not get disheartened thinking I am not knowing this information. What you are not knowing is only till that point, till that time where you have not covered that information. Once you start knowing, you will be knowing for all the times to come. And child, it is more like practicing. Answer writing of mains is just that difficult as when you are a very young kid and for the first time you were riding a bicycle. Initially, of course, you were surprised how someone is just sitting on a bicycle and balancing also. But once it started moving, then you started realizing that in movement, in dynamism, balance in itself is present. Similarly, it is once you start writing, you will see balance is automatically embedded in it. You will not find any problems. Keep with us at Edukemy. We can always say that we will try to give you exact things, the right idea, instead of taking you into any other domain of or whirlpool of confusion. We will not try to mesmerize you by difficult quotes or difficult points, rather we will try to give what a student of your level should have provided. I could have given many cases here, but why I opted for such cases only which generally you should be knowing. Even if you are not knowing, do not worry. My idea was to help you to organize knowledge and information. So, one idea to you: write answers to them on the basis of this video. Try to write. See, can you reach 150 words in objective presentation? Okay? We are always with you. Thank you very much from this Edukemy platform. Bye bye. God bless you.